what we have seen on our screens for the past 24 hours is something novel. Never before has an Indian Prime Minister made a tradition of spending time after campaigning in a meditative repose. Like never before did an Indian Prime Minister make a tradition of spending every Diwali day with the troops on various frontiers. Some are enthused by this, some others find this as political optics, and some even with skeptical satire. But let us not for a moment fail to absorb the arc of history which is upon us. In fact, let's with quiet confidence celebrate what this signifies. Politics will stay, politicians will come and go. But here is a pivotal moment in the ethos of our civilization. An India, long ago told by Lord Macaulay to be fashioned in the form of the British, rediscovering itself. A new discovery of India needs to be written. In many large parts, Narendra Modi is a lead author. When the Renaissance began in Europe, a classical revivalism led to the revolution in arts. The Michelangelos and Da Vinci's led the Newtons and Watts, the Industrial Revolution and the end of the Dark Ages. What happened in Europe then is happening in India now. When you see ISRO rocketeers pray to their rocket engines in Tirupati, we see an example of progress not being inconsistent with tradition. How will this Indian Punajagaran develop? What does it mean for India? What does it mean for the world? As we watch Prime Minister Narendra Modi meditate on the future, let's have a meditative conversation. Starting my telecast with Professor Madhav Nalapat. And here it is, the Renaissance, the Punajagaran that India had been waiting for in the last 75 years of its independence. And do you think the classical revivalism, similar to European Renaissance that birthed science and artistic leaps, ending the Dark Ages, is what parallels can be drawn to?
Well, Megha, I think that's a very important simile that you've drawn between the medieval period in Europe and the Renaissance. And I do believe that a Renaissance has dawned on India for a simple reason that today across the world, people are standing tall to be Indians, for being Indian. And I think that is a very welcome development, because the reality is that this is a country, this is which is the birthplace of several great religions and the birthplace of several great philosophers, several great thinkers. And I think, you were talking about Macaulay. The fact of the matter is that Macaulay sought to shrink India to the size of England. And to some extent, he succeeded with a chunk of the population who never really looked beyond that very narrow prism of what India was. And the glory that India was, the wonder that India was, in the words of A.L. Basham, remained unknown to them. And unfortunately, many people in succeeding generations also did not appreciate that. But I think more and more now, across the world, we see people of Indian heritage coming together and looking at the rich cultural tapestry of India, a cultural tapestry that includes the Vedic period, the Mughal period, and the Western period. All three periods are woven into one fabric of unity. And I think this is what is represented by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he meditates at the Vivekananda Rock. I think it's very important to understand that Swami Vivekananda brought the knowledge of the ancient culture and civilization of India and the syncretic ethos of India, the accepting and forgiving ethos of India, in the sense of accepting other traditions. And that wonderful ethos was basically the flame that Swami Vivekananda brought to Chicago and stunned the entire world. Now, in that sense, here is a prime minister who is completely unashamed of coming from humble background. He does not come from a very elite background like some other prime ministers have. He comes from a humble background. He's proud of it. Why? Because he's an Indian. He's a Bharatiya. And every Indian has a right to be proud. And this, I think, is the fundamental point that Prime Minister Modi is teaching all of us. And I think it's a point that makes us all want to do better and be better so that we have a better country that can be a better example to the world and that can be a gift, a real gift to the whole of humanity.
Master Mukherjee, now when we talk about India's culture, our clothes, food, history, traditions to be the next global superpower as projected by the Prime Minister, who is the head of the state who represents India across the globe.
Well, Megha, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for the topic of the debate. I was reflecting to myself as Professor Nalapat was speaking. What were my own thoughts when I went?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
What were my thoughts when I went to the Vivekanand Rock Memorial? When you stand there, you can see the three oceans: Indian Ocean, the Bay of Bengal, and the Arabian Sea, and the demarcation with different colors. It's an awesome sight. It actually represents what India is all about, as Professor Nalapat said. It represents the syncretic culture. It represents the essence of meditation. It also makes you reflect on what further there lies for you. And that is what Prime Minister Modi must be meditating upon. What is Modi 3.0 going to bring India and to his people? He has already transformed India. What would be the objective for the next round? And in that, I was absolutely amazed, Megha, that there were certain individuals whose names I will not give, objected to him going to meditate at the Vivekanand Rock Memorial. It is the right of any Indian citizen to go anywhere, anytime, and that includes the Prime Minister of India or the individual who was objecting. And how can it be a political gesture when at the end of a campaign, when the voting is going to take place, the exit polls are going to happen soon thereafter, if our Prime Minister at the end of a grueling campaign, more grueling than the earlier one, and you can see it from his body language, if he's decided to spend some hours or a night to meditate, to reflect upon India's glorious tomorrow, where better than the place where Vivekanand selected, and Vivekanand, who symbolizes India's syncretic culture and who time and again reminded his fellow Indians, particularly the Bengali Bhadralok, that they should not lose their identity, that they should not be disunited, that they should not try to follow the conqueror, that they should remember that India's heritage, culture and civilization went back millennia, and that all that the children of Macaulay did was to question their own culture and civilization. This is what Vivekanand continuously said. Right till the end, he said, where is your self-respect? Please bring back your self-respect. Remember that your culture is the best, it's the oldest, it's the wisest, and you represent true Sanatan Dharma. So I think that we should be very proud of the fact that this time he decided on the Vivekanand Rock Memorial. I don't know if you've been there, Megha, but if in case you haven't, it's really worth a visit because it makes you really reflect on eternity, on what life is all about and what your tomorrow will bring. And where better than for our Prime Minister to go there and reflect on Modi 3.0. Megha.
Absolutely. Now, Joyita, do you think the days of mocking yoga and meditation between fundamentally transcended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Well, I don't think the so-called liberals will be mocking yoga because you see yoga is, let's put it this way, quote unquote hot in the Western world. So you know that is the reason why I would say the pseudo-liberals actually, they also find yoga hot. But the thing is, you see, when you are looking at our tradition, I think Hinduism and people who belong to Sanatan Dharma, I mean, we have this, at least a section of this, these people, they have this very quote unquote unique trend of mocking your own religion, your own beliefs. And I think fundamentally that is the problem. You see, when it comes to, for example, it is said about Nehru that he never really, thought that Hinduism was the way to go. I mean, there were problems he had with Sanatan Dharma. And that was the feeling, that was the sentiment that was fed into us. And when you are looking at, if you are going to call it, now that the realization, the rediscovery of our tradition, heritage is being done, It is not exactly, I would not call it Renaissance in the European sense, because when you are looking at Europe, the way the Renaissance happened over there, it was a transition from the Middle Ages, from the Dark Ages, from the darkness to enlightenment. In India, that was never the case, okay, because as Indians, we know that our heritage, our tradition, our dharma, everything goes back to thousands of years. So, for our case, it is not the transition from darkness to light, but it is more like a rediscovery, reassertion of what we are, that feeling, that ability, you know, that I mean, we were taught, as when you mentioned the word Macaulay, of course, you see, we were taught not to regard our own tradition, our own heritage to be important enough, you know. I mean, you are always, as a majority, in fact, if you ask me, we were given the minority complex, that you are never supposed to, I mean, project yourself as a Hindu, or all right, as a Sanatani. I mean, even now in this country, there are people, I mean, at a time when us Sanatanis do not mock any other religion, but there are people who compare Sanatan Dharma with dengue and malaria and all. So, that is the mindset that we were fed for years, I would say more for over a century, and specifically, and so that we are coming out of. Okay, so that way I would say this is a rediscovery, it is a reassertion. And let us not forget one thing, you know what Vivekananda had also said, whatever be it, all these years, in spite of that artificial silence that was imposed on us, that artificial shroud that was imposed on us, let us not forget one thing, what moves this country is dharma, is religion, is faith. And India is example of the fact that faith and science can coexist, faith and logic can coexist. You see, that is why when you look at our, say for example, ISRO chief, he will ensure, you know, to pray for the Chandrayaan mission to succeed, or Mangalyaan, they will go to the temple and all. So India is classic example. So because of which I am not willing to compare it with any European equivalence, so-called equivalence, because there is no equivalence.
Okay, so then taking this conversation forward, Rishi, how do you think the next generation of Indians are going to embrace their cultural and traditional identity while being at the cutting edge of science and economics?
Hi, Megha. Actually, if you see the new generation, the Generation X, whatever you say, they have actually accepted the spiritual journey in India a lot. And this is the reason you will see all the spiritual tourism or all the spiritual tourism spots are now crowded. You go to Kashi corridor where you will see crores of Shraddhalus going and doing darshan there. Go to Kedarnath and you will see a lot of millions of people going there. So obviously that has actually revived. The cultural tourism has revived, and the cultural centers, all the spiritual centers has been attracting a lot of people nowadays. Now people prefer going to spiritual centers like Mahakal rather than going to pubs in the New Year. So that's the big difference which has happened. So we today we see more people in Mahakal than we say in the pubs and in the nightclubs. So this is the change which has happened. And you need to also understand that there was a man from Bengal named Narendra Datta, you can call popularly known as Swami Vivekananda, and he played a very vital role in the revival of Hinduism and the nationalism in India. He elevated center in the world. Today, I mean, India is looking at another Narendra to reclaim its past glory, which he is doing steadily. And they say that silence is very. They say silence is more potent than the clamor, and we actually today saw what exactly is happening. I mean, we have seen that PM Modi knows how to set narrative. His saffron-clad, saffron-robed attires in the Kanyakumari Rock Temple was a bait to the Congress ecosystem, and after that those pictures came into the social media, Congress and their all ecosystem started mocking him, sharing memes on him, making fun of him, making viral and talking point for tomorrow. Now, these pictures will have a tremendous impact on the psyche of the voters who are going tomorrow for voting. PM Modi today canvassed without breaking the rules. And this, Congress media, by criticizing him in the whole day, actually was able to keep him in the news right till tomorrow. So basically, he has set a trap, and they actually willingly walk into it. Already enough fishes has taken the bait, and he dominated the headline today. Everybody is talking about his visit to the Kanyakumari. He's not going there for prachar. There's Tamil Nadu. So why he is going? That's a very interesting question. So he's going for a meditation, just a simple meditation where opposition is going and actually filing some PILs that why Prime Minister Modi is saying silent for 2 days. He should speak. If he says silent, he will get media headline. So this is the kind of opposition we are having today. And Congress is getting into Modi's trap in last 10 years repeatedly. Okay. And this is what exactly happening.
Okay. Professor Nalapat, do you think there was a certain era of politicians who were too anglicized to value the classical reform and revitalization of an ancient civilization such as ours?
Look, Megha, I'd like to say very clearly that there's a confluence of civilizations. You see, for example, people from India gone to different parts of the world. Let's talk about another Rishi Sunak. He's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Britain. And you know that Macaulay basically came from Britain, and he wanted to reduce India to the size of Britain and Indian culture to something that it never was. The important thing, frankly, is much more than politics, is essentially spirituality. And I think there's no reason to be ashamed of spirituality. Yes, what happened was that this so-called mock rationality, spirituality is something, irrational, it's absurd. Not at all. Spirituality is the acceptance, frankly, that there is a higher power, a higher authority, higher than all of we human beings. And when we subordinate ourselves to a higher power, it is subordinate of the ego. And if you have an excess of ego, it's a problem for the world, it's a problem for you. And this is a way of subordinating that and showing that has been subordinated in you by accepting the higher power and by reaching out and meditating on that higher power, on that spirituality. I'm sure Swami Vivekananda felt, in a sense, it's like a spiritual bath, if I may say so. And that same spiritual bath is experienced by millions of people who go to Kanyakumari and to other holy sites. That's why people go to the holy sites, to get bathed in that spiritual essence. And that's why the Prime Minister is going. He's going because he knows the next 4 or 5 years ahead is going to be very, very tough. They're full of challenges. There are challenges in the world, there are challenges in India, and he'll be in the middle of those challenges. So obviously, he needs to return to the roots, as it were. And the roots are spiritual. The roots are, are basically beyond, if I may say so, the normal imagining of all of us as human beings. And when you reach out to that world, you understand the glory of the universe, and you understand the glory of the Supreme Being that's created all of us, that has made every human being the brother or the sister of each other. Yeah. It is that unity that Vivekananda propagated. It is that unity which, frankly, Narendra Modi is demonstrating now as he sits in silent meditation at the very spot where Swami Vivekananda meditated.
Ambassador Mukherjee, also, there has been this non-stop campaigning that has been done by politicians, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been at the forefront of it. When you have 4 to 5 of these rallies taking place every single day, and it is not just in one region, you shift from one state to another and from another state to the third state, and it happens in a single day, and you have been campaigning for over 3 months. There is a need for a person to replenish his energies. There is a need for the person to recharge, to rejuvenate. And if this is the way an individual finds himself to be more at the center of things, more at the center of himself, because if the elections are won by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP this time around, he is going to be in a flurry of things, because as soon as the results come out on the 4th, there is going to be a series of events that are going to take place. There is going to be cabinet formation, there are again going to be media interactions, he'll be interacting with the public, and it's a third term. So you've already planned how you're going to move your country forward. There are these 100-day plans and 200-day plans, a number of these promises that have been made by the BJP that will have to be implemented. So it is but natural for an individual. Now, if suppose a politician likes to perhaps go on a holiday, and he can do so, if an individual is more inclined spiritually, and as is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he is heading out to Kanyakumari to hold that meditation, what and who should stop him from doing it?
Actually, Megha, what surprises me is that who is stopping anyone else from doing it either?
Yes.
If somebody has gone to Kanyakumari, somebody can go to Badrinath or Kedarnath. They can go wherever they want to go, wherever they feel at peace with themselves. There are some who prefer to go to the West and shop in the malls and look at, or go to UK to wonder at the glory that was the United Kingdom post-Brexit. There are others, like our Prime Minister, who decide to reconnect spiritually and otherwise, and to get back his force, maybe physical too, he must be exhausted, from a period of quiet meditation, alone, away from people, away from the hurly-burly of the election rallies, etc., as you pointed out. Nobody can stop him, and nobody has the right to stop anyone else either. So whoever wants to do what they want, it's a free country, they can do whatever they like. What I am very surprised is that how has this become a subject matter of controversy at all? This is a personal choice of an individual. He is Prime Minister of India, but he is also a citizen of India. He has the right, he has two days so-called free because the campaign is over. If he chooses to replenish himself and his spiritual roots in this manner, it's entirely his choice. As I said, I have been there. It is an amazing experience, because when you stand on that rock and you look at the three wonderful oceans with the deep blue, the green, and the grey lapping at the last tip of the continent of this great subcontinent of this great country, you really understand the greatness of Bharat, that is India. That was my experience some years ago. I would recommend that every Indian should go there. I'm sure that is what Vivekananda must have thought. We were under colonial rule. He was meditating so that Indians could unite and throw out the usurper. That's what he wanted. He wanted India to be a free country with free Indians and free of the mental colonial yoke, which unfortunately still exists, Megha, in the minds of some Indians. I don't want to name anyone. But when we are free of that mental colonial yoke of which Macaulay inserted into our minds and heads, only then will we be a true, liberated, free Indian. And I'm sure that is what the Prime Minister hopes, that in Modi 3.0, that will happen. Megha.
Joyita Basu, do you think if our country and certain individuals and politicians and the political ideologies they propagate and believe in had been more accepting and recognizing what Hinduism actually stands for, what yoga and what meditation stands for, this commotion about the Prime Minister going to Kanyakumari, doing meditation, and something similar happened when he went to Kedarnath for his meditation. They would have been more accepting, more understanding of it, and this would not have become a massive point of outrage and controversy.
No, first of all, I think one of the reasons why it has become such a major point of outrage and controversy is because of the opposition, because it is kind of fearful even of tomorrow's results, and they are seeing it as a form of campaign about the Prime Minister being on TV And that is the reason why they are so upset about it. Frankly, if you ask me, it has nothing to do with, the realization or they have of their religion or not, because after all, they have also realized that they have to show to the people that they are, they follow our faith, and as a result of which some of them even wear their janeu outside the jacket. So that is the mindset. But this is actually, they are really worried that this appearance is actually going to give some additional votes to the Prime Minister. But what they do not realize is that most people have already made up their mind about this election, and this was months back. Okay, there may not have been much talk about it. So people who have made up their mind, this is going to come as a reaffirmation for the reason why they will vote for Mr. Modi. So the thing is that, and if people have made up their mind against the opposition, they have made it back long back. It's a different issue that the opposition tried to make the election, divide it. It is basically a caste-focused election. That was the whole fight of the opposition about, and to take the focus away from dharma and Sanatan dharma, to take the focus away of Hindus to vote as Hindu. Instead, what they tried to do, they tried to bring caste into the focus, and this is the reason why they are so upset, because the more the Prime Minister is seen on television as the epitome of, I would say, as a follower of Sanatan Dharma, they think that, people who the opposition thinks they have managed to divide according to caste lines, they will come back to the Sanatan fold. That is the reason why they are so angry.
Rishi, then, the kind of narrative that the opposition wants to put out, saying that, this is being done for optics, this is being done for publicity, and this is then going to impact the remaining 57 seats where people are going to come out and vote. Does this have resonance with the people, with the voters of our country, keeping in mind that this is a spiritual sojourn? Now, it really does not matter whether it is election or it is at a non-election year or non-election period. It is a matter of faith of a particular individual, and it has got nothing to do with how people will react to, people will think of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as an individual and therefore decide to cast their vote.
Megha, you need to understand one thing, that it is the opposition party which is circulating his pictures and mocking him. Actually, they are doing the PR work for Prime Minister Modi. It's not the BJP party which is doing it. It's the opposition party. They should. They are actually circulating the topic. They are opposing his meditation thing. They are doing everything, which is actually keeping him in the news. He is not even giving a one bite. He is not giving one statement. He has simply gone to a one remote part of the nation, and he is meditating there. Now, if you have if somebody is having a problem with that, and they are making an issue out of it, and they are making sure that he stays in the news for next 48 hours. It's good for Mr. Modi and good for BJP if they are doing actually, I think all the opposition party are doing a favor to him by raking up this kind of silly issues. Because I think the people have already decided whom they are going to vote, and they have decided months back. And now this pictures will maybe it will enforce their beliefs, but that won't change the mind of the people. But I think the opposition by basically mindlessly opposing him is actually losing its own voter base, because you cannot just go and oppose a person mindlessly. He's doing meditation, you're going to oppose it. He's saying silent, you're going to oppose him. He's doing fast, you're going to oppose him. What kind of mindless opposition you need to do? You need to oppose on a proper topics and proper things. So you cannot just go mindlessly and just do it.
Okay, all right. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.